Kicking off 2025 with the man, Scott Frazier. Another Q&A.
We back, baby. We
Yep.
didn't get canceled.
Yep.
And people kind of liked it.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, I think
Numbers
that's
were good.
I mean, so we're gonna try it again. We're gonna see how far this thing goes.
Yeah.
We're gonna press it. But man, how was Christmas break?
It was good. It was like just enough. Went home to the family for like 6 days. Wasn't too much, wasn't too little. Like it was perfect amount of time. Got to see everyone, see some friends. Just quality time. Went to church Christmas Eve. Like,
There we go.
Yeah, it was good. Cold though.
I was about to say, you're like, tell everybody where you from originally.
Pennsylvania. So, and I didn't really see snow. It was like a little bit coverage when I landed that night.
Yeah.
But then it melted by the morning. Like it was just like cold and gloomy the rest of the days. I'm like, if I'm gonna be in the cold, like at least give me like snow.
Seriously, I'm like there's no reason to just be cold.
Yeah.
Like that sounds miserable.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, it's 75 degrees and
Oh, I came back here. I was like,
Austin, Texas. You're like, what's going on? And so time with family, and then you're coming back. You were here, back already hitting the ground, running. Back in the gym, kind of stuff. How was New Year? What were you doing? What's a guy like you? What's Matt Loopy doing to usher in the new year?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of my friends were going to this house party, so I was just like, I'll just tag along, see my people. There was a lot of people there, and so it was just like good to hang out. And then I think we left at like 11:15. Like I was okay with that.
Yeah, you're like
home before midnight, in bed like right after midnight. Like it was fine. It's what it needed to be to wake up at a decent time the next day. And, like actually start the new year the right way.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You see, and like I even like felt a little bit guilty because there's people. I wake up, check socials. There's people like waking up at like 5 a.m. Like start my workout already. Like I'm waking up at like 7, and like I'm not getting too into that. Like I used to be like terrible. Like I'm not doing enough. But I think there is a shift, especially in our community in Austin, of people that are like, no, I'm not going to stay out and drink until 3 a.m. and wake up noon the next day. And like you start the new year on that note. I'm going to get a good night's of sleep. Who cares about the ball dropping at midnight? I'm going to work out. I'm going to actually start my goals day one.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, I've been curious about this though, because I've looked at it kind of going, I think you're right about the community piece, right? Going, all right, I think people are going, I don't want to be sluggish. I don't want to feel like trash on January 1st, But how do you feel about, I put a post up yesterday that was my unconventional take on, right, about this around, hey, and I'm curious to know what you think of, everybody gets wrapped up, but then you and I both know, I mean, what's the second Friday of January is known as Quitter's Day.
Yep.
That most people, everybody's coming out, they're like, I'm going to learn Spanish, I'm going to stop smoking, or I'm going to stop throwing in 50s in a day, right? And then they're like, 2 weeks in, bro, they're off.
Yeah,
they're off.
this.
They're off. They're out, And so, but my unconventional take was, hey, instead of thinking, hey, you got to come out the gate and you got to compete with everybody else and like they're ahead of me, of going, hey, it's okay to go, hey, spend a little bit of time of, instead of looking at January or even that first week or maybe even the second week of, what if instead of thinking the first week, second week were for resolutions, they were for reflection.
Yep.
They were for looking back going, hey, where have I been? And what did I learn from last year? And then where am I going now, right? And so how do you feel about that as a trainer trying to, because I feel like, man, you're a coach, mindset coach, performance coach, trainer, you run a gym, we're here at Collective, right, in Media Pouch Studios. But how do you think about that? How do you balance that with, your personal take, maybe thinking about this, but also trying to capture the people that are excited about getting back into the gym? And because, the gym's always flooded, every bench press is going to be totally full of, it's going to be 90% full and then it dips. But how do you balance those two? How do you think about it personally, your January reflections, your resolutions, but also how do you capture that momentum of people coming in, wanting to get fit, excited about the new year? How do you think about both those things and holding them in tension?
Yeah, it's so good. I agree with you on so many levels because this was the first year I feel like I set intentional goals. In years past, I would just write stuff down because it felt good.
Yeah.
And it felt right. And it was like, I want to do this because it sounds cool. Like 2024, I wrote out goals and then I put them on a whiteboard in my room so I could see them every day. And I got to a point where I stopped looking at them because it wasn't meaningful and I was so far away from them.
Right.
And I get to the end of the year and I'm looking at that and I was like, I wrote down like 15 things. I'm like, I did 2 of these.
Right.
It's crazy. But there's things on there like run a marathon. I had no intentions of running a marathon. It was just like, it sounded cool. It's what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, no, this is stupid. Like, let's cut that in half. Let's actually take time to think about like what's actually like reasonable for me. What gets me excited? What do I want to work towards? And like, what would I achieve, or what could I set out to achieve that's actually going to change my life?
Yeah.
I didn't set goals until literally yesterday, January 2nd.
That's awesome.
And so I spent all my time at home the past few days, like before the new year and everything, just thinking about like, what do I actually want in 2025? So like, that was my reflection time that you're talking about, of like, I'm not going to like go monk mode and sit down and like cut off all distractions. I'm just like kind of praying on it and like bring to me and put on my heart like what this year should be about. And then yesterday I literally sat down at my desk and I was like, okay, I'm giving myself maximum of 7. So I did 7. And I'm going to write out like what would actually change my life and what would get me excited. So I wrote out those 7. I wrote out words for 2025 and then a mantra.
So kind of like theme word, and then like what's the phrase?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And I did that last year as well, and it helped a lot because every day I'm just like, this is my theme for this year. So I took out that piece of paper from my notebook. I tacked it on my bathroom wall, so I have to see it every single day.
Yeah.
Brush my teeth at least. And
hopefully.
Yeah. Maybe like once for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That was my mindset, and I instantly thought about that Office episode where they bring the disabled guy in. He's like, takes me 30 seconds to brush my teeth, and Michael Scott's like, see, 3 times the amount of time.
They literally couldn't make that show.
But I feel so excited about it because I'm like, this is actually meaningful to me, and I can see myself doing it, but they're all like stretch goals. Like, yeah, it's going to challenge me, but like, this is what I want to challenge myself with. For other people, I think like that should be the mindset. I heard this in 2020 when I was starting my personal development journey. I took like this online course through Grant Cardone, and he said the number one reason that people don't achieve their goals is because they're not life-changing enough. So people change or set out goals, but they don't achieve them because it's not going to change your life. You can say to yourself, for the example of me running a marathon, I want to run a marathon. The reason I didn't do that is because that's not life-changing for me. The process was not enjoyable. The outcome I didn't care about. Whatever came with it was just not me. But if I say I'm going to go run an Ironman this year or perform an Ironman and finish top 10%, that's one of my goals. I love the journey of that. It challenges me. I have to learn how to swim again, really. I have to put myself through challenges. I'm racing with a team that I want to compete with and do like the top of the top and compete. So for people that are like want to make 2025 their best year, something needs to change, because you're probably in the same boat that I was in, where years past, you're not achieving your goals, you feel like shit about it, and you're doing the same thing again. But you're like, I hate the memes that are like, 2023, I found myself. 2024, I prepared. 2025, I prepared. You haven't changed a single thing.
Right.
And you're doing the same goal setting. So this year, like, actually sit down. What's meaningful? Start with 3 goals, 4 goals.
Sure.
Don't put 20 out there. The vision board, don't put a Rolex on there just because it looks cool.
Yeah.
Like, let's actually make this in alignment with us.
Yeah, if you, I love that. When people are like, I'm gonna make $1 million. I'm like, have you ever made $1 online? Right, like, bro, like you can't go from your W-2. Now you can if you captivate the right thing, right, and you go, okay, I'm motivated by the right thing, or I'm chasing it, or I'm in the right environment, surrounded by people that are doing the same thing, and I have an opportunity where maybe I'm doing sales and I can hit a certain quota, whatever. But you're going, it's got to be stacked on some level. That you got to go. I mean, you get this as a trainer. There's a level of, all right, you want to hit a 315 bench, and we're like, well, dude, if you can't do 135, like it's going to take some time to get there. So what is a stretch but appropriate for X amount of days, however you're chasing? And I think you're right. And I hate the memes that are, I prepared. This was I'm monk mode, and you're just going. All that is just ghostwriters writing the same thing, putting out the same BS year after year, because they're trying to capture on insecure people that are looking for help and coaching and go, that's the way. But it's not the way. You need to get in with a coach. You need to work with somebody. You need to get with you. Dude, well, tell us about this. You're like, I'm curious because we got some really good questions around this, talking about, advice around personal development, looking at, hey, what are our goals? Should they be big? Should they be small? But let's start with, what's Matt Loopy chasing in 2025? Like when you look at it, looking at last year, knowing I didn't, because I mean, even as your friend, right? We see each other almost every day.
Yep.
And you're going, man, your goal, you were you had 75 hard twice where you were getting lean, but you were like pushing it, getting big. You had some goals around squats that you were hitting max squat, which didn't, some of that doesn't match with the marathon, right? So that's what you're talking about, of going, hey, what do you actually want? What are you actually chasing? And so you said you're doing this with more intention this year, maybe more intention than you ever have. What are the things captivating you? What are the things you're chasing in 2025? And what is the big, you talked about being motivated by something that is going to be life-changing, those kind of things. What is that for you in 2025?
Yeah, it's stepping into who I actually am. Like 2024 was a lot of like figuring life out. And like my biggest takeaway from like this past year was, although I didn't achieve nearly any of the goals that I set in the beginning of 2024, that was because like I didn't know who I was and who I wanted to become. But when I look back, and if I put myself in January 1st, 2024 and said, here's what you're going to be at the end of the year, my mind would be blown. Like the amount that I've done and experienced and put myself out there and grown, it was like astronomical, my biggest year yet. So that whole time was like, now I'm ready to go. Like now I'm figuring out like this is where 2025 should be going. So like it's the physical challenge. Like I mentioned the Ironman. I'm doing an Ironman 70.3 in October with a team with First Form people.
Dang, bro. And
I have a lot of time to prepare. And I think a lot of people could just be like, oh, I'll start in the summer because it's in the fall, like take some time. Like, no, I already started. And the reason for that, like I love to compete. I wasn't like a big time athlete, but I still have a competitor's edge in me. Whereas like when I do Spartan races or I'm lifting, like I want to be great at something. So I'm like, if I have all this time to prepare, I want to show up and I want to perform the top 10%. So I'm already training. I'm going to work with a coach a little bit later on. Like I'm dialed in, ready to go. This is brand new to me, but like I want to perform.
Yeah. So you've never done this before. You never done have you done triathlon before?
Nope.
So this is brand new, and tell people the story, because you're like, you're already leaving out. My favorite part of the story is why are you doing what instigated this?
Yeah,
you came in, you're like, I'm gonna do an Ironman. I'm like, you're an idiot. Like that my first thought, people, was, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, especially knowing that what the goals were last year.
Yeah,
I went, okay, this feels like it's coming out of left field. Because I think it's a testament to the community that you've surrounded yourself with and the mentors that you've gotten into your life, which that's a question one of the people asked about was mentorship and these kind of things. So I want to talk about this is what started that? Why this goal specifically for you? Yeah. Tell them that story.
So my mentor through First Form, his name's Briley. Shout out to Briley.
Shout out Briley. Come on.
So good at just
Hold up, not
pushing me.
Riley with a B?
Yes. Yes.
Dude, already you're like, the name's epic.
Just a great dude. And he texted me one day and he's like, are you in or out? And like, I didn't talk to him like for like a week before. Like I had no context.
Yeah, it's kind of radio silent during those slow weeks of Christmas and after, right?
Oh, this was like the fall.
No.
Yeah. And I intentionally didn't respond for like 20 minutes because I'm like, he's going to send something else, or maybe the message didn't send.
Yeah, the second part of that message didn't come through. So you're just waiting.
I'm like, look at my phone. I'm like, all right, dude, like, let's go. So nothing. So I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, welcome to First Form. You don't get any context. Are you in or out? It's like, this motherfucker. So I'm like, all right, I'm in. And he goes, cool. Ironman 70.3 in 2025. And I was like, and instantly.
Yeah, what's the first thought? Like when you see it come through, is it the heart dropping? Is it the mind activating? What the first instinct for you?
First thing was thinking of an excuse. I'm not even kidding. Like,
yeah, that's a human response. Going, hold on, whoa. I've never done this. I don't have a history of this. But so the first instinct is, how do I get out of this?
Yes. Or it was like, ask about like when and where, and then I'll make an excuse.
Yeah, get clarity. I'm looking for all the information. I got to make sure I have it all to make a good decision on this. Be wise.
I already know October 25 is super busy. So.
Already just like, what can we do here?
Yeah. So I sit on it, and like I remember him saying like, welcome to First Form, like you don't get context. And I'm just like, if I want to be around high achievers and savages, like this is a standard that I need to live at. And like, do I want to be someone that just like, oh, he's a faker? So I just said, you know what, I'm in. Like, thanks. And then he was just like, good response. And then we just leave it at that. And then he starts to make a group chat with people that went through the same thing of like, he just said in or out. And then he's like, hey, by the way, we have 15 people from HQ in St. Louis that are going to do it with us. So cool. We got a big group. We'll see who gets to the end and actually signs up and shows up. But like, we got like 20 people ready to go. And it's just like saying yes to things.
Yeah.
And like the big thing I learned the past couple of years, like if there's not a reason to say no, why are we saying no? Like if you're just making up things in your mind of like, oh, maybe this, maybe that. No, just say yes. Like there's literally no reason that I would deny that. I'll figure it out. The training, like Ironmans are not cheap, but you'll figure that out and let's just go do it.
Especially if it fits in the vein of what you're trying to achieve with your life and who you are, the type of person you're trying to be, you know, and I think that ties into the community you've surrounded yourself, the mentors you have in your life. And it makes sense. You're not going to have a mentor ask you something that's counter to the intentions that you have. They know what lane you're running in. And so I know we want to get to questions that two more I would ask you real quick. What's the word for 2025? I know you said you had kind of a word and mantra. Is that something you're running to put out into the world and let your followers know what's going on?
For sure. Yeah. So Drew, who you met, he texted me, encouraged me to find 5.
Okay.
So freedom, just freedom of choice and working for myself, being bold, challenge, mental and physical, energy, show up as my best self, recovering, being a light for other people, and just commitment. Yeah. Or no, it wasn't commitment. It was leadership.
That's great.
Which is one of my core values as a man, is like leading by example and bringing people along the journey with me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then what's the mantra for this year?
Mantra I got from Ben Newman. Last year was be undeniable. Okay. And I think I embodied that pretty well. Just like, I want people to see like, hey, he's about this.
Yeah, life. You showed up in every aspect. For those that don't know your story, right? I mean, when we first met, you're training, but then you're like working your way up of getting clients, showing up, and then congratulations on you graduated with your master's degree.
Thank you.
Right? So master's degree from LSU. Mm-hmm. I won't hold that against you.
Tigers.
Freaking hook 'em. UT took that game, which almost killed me, by the way. Mm-hmm. Freaking almost had a heart attack over here, dude. It was terrible, but we're going on to the next round. So I'll take a win no matter how you get it, dude. But yeah, everything. You got your master's. You actually get all these courses. You actually did Ben's coaching course, got certification in that. Then you made your way up, pretty much helping run collective here. Mm-hmm. You hit your 300th episode on the pod. And had some 200, I'm throwing it out, but I'm speaking in existence, baby. Right. You know. But you're going, man. You were undeniable. Yeah. You showed up in every aspect and every sphere of your life as your best self.
Thank you.
You know, and so, but so that was be undeniable. What's this year?
This year is just watch me.
Ooh, dang, that's got some sauce to it, man.
Yeah, Ben shared a story with me when I was coaching when he was coaching me, working with an athlete, and he's like. He would talk to him about like overcoming challenges and show him as his best self. And he's like, I would grab him by the helmet and just say, just watch me. And then it turned into JWM and he would know what that meant. So for me, it's like in times I don't want to do something or in high pressure situations, just watch me. I've done the preparation. I'm ready to go. Like you can count on me.
That's good, man. Dude, I'm excited. It's going to be a big year. Yeah. You know, that's awesome. Well, you know, but this is Q&A. That's what we're doing. We're listening, kind of throwing a message out saying, hey, what do your followers want to answer? What are they asking about? And a lot of it was, we kind of started this route going, hey, let's talk about goals and resolutions and these kind of things. And that's what a lot of people ask about, especially with this is, you know, and I want to start with this one of, you know, should goals be set big or small and manageable? So how do you balance between the chasing something big but not making it so far out of reach that it demotivates you. Yeah. Right? Like you said, don't throw a Rolex on there if like you still rocking a Timex, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, and we're talking cheap Timex you get at Walmart, you know what I'm saying? Not there's some nice Timexes, all right? Shout out Timex, you know, yeah. But I'm just saying, you know, how do you do that while still balancing, not making it so small manageable where you're not actually pushing yourself at all? How do you think about that?
I think people need to think bigger. Like set your goal bigger if it's something that you're actually working on and you believe in yourself for that. So one goal I had that I completely crushed in 2024 was I wrote out, I want to have 25,000 podcast downloads. And for that, in the time, it was a stretch for me because I wasn't getting many downloads in 2023 and before that. And I was like, let's set it for 25,000. Like that'd be a big year for me. I finished the year with 104,000 downloads for 2024. So I quadrupled it. Yeah. And I would have never known in the moment, like I could do so much bigger, but I've done the work. I did the podcast for a year and a half before I set that goal.
Yep.
I picked up a lot of momentum. I still believe in the mission so much more, even more now than ever. And if you're actively working towards something, you believe in yourself. I should have thought bigger, because if I set it at 100K, it might have been 200, you know? So
It's true.
it's, if I just said, I'm going to start a podcast from scratch and go to 25,000, I probably wouldn't have got there, because it's brand new. You're figuring things out. So if you're working on something, you believe in yourself, I think big. And under that, you need to have manageable things to hit.
Yes.
So if you say, you know, I want those downloads, what are like 3 things you need to be doing, and maybe set a date towards it, or set daily standards of, I need to post on social media, I need to reach out to this guest, I need to research this on podcasting to help me get there. Because those are quick things you can just throw on your to-do list of like, I need to do this on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis to actually get there. But it all feeds into the bigger goal. If you just say, I want to make, like your example, I want to make $1 million. Cool, sounds great. You might have all the belief in the world, but
Yeah.
how much you need to make month 1? And
Right.
even beyond that, like, what do you need to do to get there? If you're doing sales, how many people to reach out to? So it's great to think big, but you need more manageable plans on how to get there. So I think it's a combination of the both, but we need to think bigger. There's a book, The Magic of Thinking Big, and the first chapter, what stood out to me was there was a sales team, and the manager was talking about like, hey, this guy's our top salesperson. He 10x all of you. And everybody's like, wow, how do you do it? He goes, he's not 10 times more experienced, not 10 times more educated, 10 times more time, whatever. He thought 10 times bigger than any of you. So if you just think bigger, I think there's a lot of power and you can achieve more, but you obviously need to do the action to follow.
Yeah. I think you and I talked about this with 90 Days of Action a lot, and I think James Clear is right about this. So if you haven't read, I mean, another question I'm going to follow with this is, hey, what books do you recommend? Because I think getting it, if you're not exposed to new ideas, then you don't understand these things.
Yeah.
And so I think that James Clear's Atomic Habits, excuse me, I think that he lays it out pretty well. If you don't rise to the level of your goal, you fall to the level of your systems. And the thing that I think gets misinterpreted there is that he says, don't set goals. That's not what I think. When people take away and they're like, I'm just going to do a system, I'm like, that is boring as hell. If I'm just, I got to make 10 sales calls a day, I got to make 100 sales calls a day, that's boring. If you go, I'm going to make $1 million because I've been in an environment I know that I can, and I'm going to do here the things, and I got to make $83,000 a month, which means I got to close 25 sales, which means I got to make X amount of calls. I think that's really where it's stretch yourself with a big goal and make the tangible metrics that I hit daily, make those manageable, because that's what's sustainable. Because he is right about, but if you just put a goal, I broke this down the other day where I said, if you just, a goal minus a plan is just fantasy.
Yeah.
That you're in fantasy land. It's the people that do the vision boards, like, oh, here's all the things I'm gonna achieve, and you got the jet and the Rolex, and you're going, bro, you're gonna be still driving your Pinto, bro. Like, just
Live with your parents.
living with your from your basement, bro. Like, not cool. But then it's going, okay, a goal plus a plan, that's intention, right? All right, now I have a goal and I have a plan and what that looks like and make it real manageable. But a goal plus a plan plus action, right? That you're actually doing it, following it, sticking with it. That is achievement, right? Of actually going after it. And so, and this is, I mean, 10X is easier than 2X, right? It's a book that came out this year where it talks about you're going to be doing the work anyway. So you might as well be dreaming big because you're going to be putting in the work.
Yeah.
Atomic Habits, I think, is huge for, that. What other couple books you recommend for goal setting, personal development, dreaming, goal setting? What you got?
Yeah, those 2 are really good. I think that's the foundation. 2 more that come to mind. Number 1, Magic of Thinking Big. I believe it's Ben Schwartz or something, David Schwartz.
Okay.
But it's all about just like the mindset behind setting goals and working hard. So that's a great one. And like 2 years ago when I read that, I was doing it while on 75 hard. So I was just like moving.
You were going, bro.
Yeah, it was good. So that's a good one. I try to read that every single year.
Yeah.
And then Relentless by Tim Grover.
Yeah,
changed my mind about what I wanted to do in life, which like more performance coaching.
Yeah.
He talks about different categories of people, the top 2 being a closer and a cleaner. Closer being like,
so good.
hey, you can pretty much count on this person to perform at a high level, but like sometimes they're gonna make a mistake. A cleaner is like your Kobe Bryant. That's just like, give him the ball, no matter what the situation is, they're just gonna do it. Yeah, and that's a killer. It also shows you,
I think most people are unaware of what it takes
Yeah.
to actually achieve, and it's more than you think it's going to be.
Yeah.
But when you get there, it doesn't feel like a lot. It just becomes your lifestyle. It's who you become, and you have to be around some of that or read about it to understand the type of work and effort people are putting in to achieve these big things. Is that it's not just going to happen.
Yeah.
I think people think they're going to stumble into success, and that may happen for a few people that get lucky or they lineage or family, whatever. But you're like, for most people, you won't stumble into success.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to stumble into goals. Like, it's going to be incredibly intentional and focused and a lot of effort and a lot of pushing through, to get there. And so, man, another question I wanted to ask.
You first.
Oh, you want to ask me something? You want to ask me?
So I want to get your take because you set a big goal in 2024, you and Aaron.
Yep.
I want $1 million ARR in our company.
Yep.
And I remember towards the end of the year, you guys were like, hey, we might not hit this.
Yep.
And there was all these emotions with it, but you
Sure.
got pretty damn close.
Yeah.
So you said this big goal was that, hey, we're doing the right thing. Should we have set bigger? Should we have scaled down?
Yeah.
Where do you stand on the...
No, I agree with you 100%. That's why I loved your answer, because it was ridiculous. Like, it was a totally arbitrary number.
Mm-hmm.
We had a side hustle that made us like $40,000 the year before. Freed Up, right? It's the executive assistant staffing agency that we have. And we both went all in though last year. And we were like, all right, if we go all in, put ourselves, and we're going to make $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And that was $1 million ARR. So annual recurring revenue. Okay. And but then what was easy about that, it was, okay, we needed 28 clients, right? Then we just made it math. I took away everybody's like, oh, we got to make it this big thing. And I got to, it kills me when people, like, I might get the new, I got to get this type of drink and this type of diet, this type of app, I got to do this type of thing. And you're going, like, you just need to put in the work. I don't know that's what we started 90 Days of Action was. We wanted to teach people that a bias to action would beat more learning and development 10 times out of 10. The people that are like, hey, I just need a little bit more learning. Most of the time, I think our learning is procrastination and fear. I think you're actually just afraid to do the work, or you're uncertain about yourself and you don't know how to regulate your own emotions. And so because of that, you want to go learn more so that you can keep avoiding it, right?
So good.
This was your talk about, I want to ask more questions about the Ironman so that I can make a better excuse later on.
Yes.
That's all of us. I mean, that's, or the student that's like, you ever did this in school where you're going, oh man, I got to be, well, dude, I didn't study at all, but I stayed up all night. You never actually gave yourself a chance to be great. And so now you have an excuse, right? And so I think that for me and for Aaron, it was like $1 million was a stretch. And it was going, hey, we're just going to chase it. And then we just did. Then you look at it and go, okay, what's the math? It was 28 people. Okay, then 28. And you're like, well, over 12 months, that's almost 3 people. I got to close at least 2 new sales a month, And then you go like, all right, we're doing this. And then, man, you're like, I think we got to the end of the year, it was at 20, And so we were like, yeah, you're 8 short and you got to deal with the emotions of that, of going, oh man, we fell short. But then you look and go, if you actually were practicing gratitude along the way of, man, I'm grateful though that this is my life, that this is what I get to do day in, day out, that I'm building the business with my friend, that I get to hang out and do podcasts with you, that I'm here at Collective every day. I'm jumping in, I'm the sauna, cold plunge, that we're doing this thing. That's my life. How humble and grateful am I that God has given me this life, that even though I fell short, and you definitely takes a sting, because it's like, you want to go win a championship, you don't win the championship, it's going to hurt, but it should. I don't want it to not, because then it went, okay, but we're going to hit $1 million. We'll hit $1 million in the next maybe 45 days, So you're like, the momentum though is, I'm not trying to set goals just for 2025 or 2024. The 2024 goal was the thing that compounds to the year and the year after that and the year after that, right? Of going, this is who I am becoming, and the man that I become, or the person that I'm becoming in the process, that's actually what I'm chasing, right? I got a quote for you here in a second that's gonna freaking blow your mind about Arthur Schopenhauer was a philosopher, and we'll read it near the end because I want to like talk about this as we kind of close it. But that was it. And it's exactly what you just said though, was I'm humbled by it all, and it was hard and challenging, but the success is waiting for us on the other side, And so, dude, we were like partying in another room over here. I was like, if you're not here with us guys, all of a sudden it was like music was coming out of the other room.
That's funny.
But you're like, yeah, it was, we set this big goal. We chased it. We didn't quite get it, but you're like, didn't matter.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, you closed the year with 700. I think we officially was close. It was like 700,000 ARR, right? But you're like, That's still amazing. I felt
40 to 700.
I felt pretty good. Yeah, you're like 40 to 700, and we didn't make our first sell till March.
Yeah.
And so you're like, dude, March to December, that's not bad.
Yep.
And so you give me that time there again, we're gonna chase it, you know. And so it was cool, man. Good question. Yeah, it's good. But you know, we're gonna get it this year, baby. Now it's instead of 1 and 12, we're doing 2 and 24.
Okay.
Because it's like, okay, we want to double, a little bit more than double. Because double would just be 1.4, but you're like, no, we're gonna do more, and we're gonna get to 2, and we're gonna get there, and this is how we're gonna get it.
Yep.
You know, and so that's how I feel about it. It's
awesome.
We're there, you know.
Yeah,
and so I'm looking at the time, making sure that we're still, because I know we want to get to all these things. But I love this question because what advice would you give to someone just starting their personal development journey? So like when I think about like goal setting, all this stuff, let's say someone has, a lot of people that listen to you, I would say that, you know, the majority of them, man, they're in the fitness community or, you know, but the newer people that are jumping in, that are hearing your story, that are finding you because they feel lost.
Yep.
Or they feel like maybe they lost themselves and they're trying to get back on their feet. What does that look like? Where does someone start their personal development journey?
I think you almost need to follow like one person that you can really resonate with or that you want to be like.
Yeah.
Like for me, when I started, that was David Goggins.
Oh, yeah,
right?
of course.
And
Great gateway drug, by the way. You know?
I talked about in my last episode with Kelly, if you guys listened, was like, she asked what my favorite book was. And like, that was like so life-changing for me.
Yeah.
Like reading this book, but it's almost cliche now. Everybody's like, Goggins, carry the boats. But it was true. Like in the moment, I was like, it opened my mind to so many different things. And I start to read the book. I start to listen to podcasts and do research of like, how is he operating on a day-to-day basis? And maybe I'm not going to be exactly Goggins 2.0, but like, what can I take from his story, his life, and now put into my life?
Yeah.
So I think people get too caught up in like all these different things of like, listen to 10 podcasts and read all these books. It's just like, you have so many voices in your head. If you're listening to this and you like the theme of the show, you like my story, like maybe I'm not for you.
Yeah.
And maybe you enjoy someone that went from 20 to 24 and has learned all these things and wants to interview people and you love the guests and that's what it is for you. That's awesome. I love that. Maybe it's someone completely different. I think kind of latch on to something or someone and learn and start to change your life with those habits that that person embodies. And on top of that, like a big takeaway from me in 2024 was like, get around people that have the life that you want.
Yeah.
And for me, it was hiring mentors.
Yeah.
Who has the life I want? Who's done what I want to do?
Yep.
How can I steal their 10,000 hours?
Yes.
So hiring someone like a Ben or join Arte with Ed and Andy or other mentors that I've had that maybe are not at that caliber, but like they've done exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
Learn from them. And it's going to cost you money, but at least they're going to give you the exact blueprint of what to do. And now I'm like, okay, I love what my mentor Joe has done in his life. And now he's saying this, like, I need to do that because this is the path I want to go down because he did it in 10 years, in 5 years, I want the exact same life.
Yeah. So you're saying, you know, to break that down, to make it, simple of going, hey, find someone that you really want to emulate.
Yeah.
And then figure out whatever you got to do to either, hey, from the cheaper side of that, which is, hey, if they have a book out, go read the book and go execute on what the book says. Or maybe a tier up, level up is, hey, if they have a course or a community you can join and be a part of, hey, go join and be a part of that so that you can kind of, because what'll happen in that is they'll give you exposure to other aspects of personal development, right? Of going, hey, getting you involved and connected to new people or new ideas, new thoughts. But in the most simplistic form, it's, hey, go find someone to emulate that you respect. Go find the content curriculum or community that they're a part of, and then kind of walk that path and let that be kind of your first steps into the personal development world. Yeah.
You can change yourself so quickly if you just become someone different. And what I mean by that is like, have like almost an alter ego. You set an alarm for 4:30, that alarm goes off, you don't want to get up. You're like, I won't get up, but Goggins would. Wake up.
Yeah.
Get out of bed.
Yeah.
Don't be yourself. Don't be Scott. Don't be Matt. Be Goggins.
Yeah.
It. You want to make a hard business decision. I won't do this. I can't do this. I am underqualified. Okay, but Scott is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm going to be Scott right here. And I'm going to now go past all these different limiting self-belief that I can't achieve this. And you'll start to find like you can quickly start to change all these habits. Like, you know what you should be doing. Maybe you don't have the capabilities to do yourself, but just become someone else.
Yeah. No, I think I saw two things. If people haven't read The Alter Ego Effect is a great book. It's and I think, because I saw two things that there were a couple, I can't remember exactly the content where I was consuming it from, but it was talking about actors and actresses that when they embody that other person, that they're, they may be having a tough time, but they're going, well, I'm not this person. I'm the person in the screenplay, or I'm the person in this movie. And now what would they do? Who would they be? And it was like they could shut down, they're having a personal breakdown. They could like shut it off because now, or I love that story of Bo Jackson in Alter Ego Effect, where Bo Jackson, one of the greatest athletes of all time, played baseball and football. And he was talking to this guy that wrote the book, and he was like, how you know my secret, man? And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, Bo Jackson's never played a down of football in his life. And what he meant was, no, the alter ego of himself had been playing football. It was never Bo Jackson playing football. It was Bo Jackson's alter ego that he projected. That was who was playing football. And so I think you're right that you can, man, if you shift that mindset, you can immediately become someone different in a moment. You don't need a lifetime.
Yeah.
You're like, right now I can make that decision by choosing, I'm not going to be my former self who's made these bad decisions or maybe wouldn't consistently do this. What would this person do? Right? And I think that's friggin', I mean, that gets you going, you know? And so that's awesome. Man, we still got time for a few more questions here. I wanted to ask a couple of these are like, man, I love this of, man, this is a little bit of a pivot but I just love the question. It might be putting you on the spot a little bit here, but I like it. Out of all the guests you've had, okay, out of all the guests, right? And so I got this around 200 episodes, okay? But I like to follow up here. Which conversation had the most profound impact on you? So, to all the former guests, he's not picking a favorite. All right, we're not picking favorites here. We're just saying, hey, of all the conversations, which one walked away with like an unlock, transformation, or just went, man, that's gonna sit with me. Maybe one that you couldn't shake for like a couple days or a week after you were still thinking about it. Who was that and why?
Lexi Johnson.
Dang, Lexi Johnson. There was no even hesitation, bro. No. I was like stretching it out, trying to give you some time to go like think about it. But Lexi Johnson, shout out Lexi Johnson, which was a great episode. If people haven't listened to that, they need to, because her story is amazing, and just the material, the way she talked about what she does, and just the content, the questions you were asking her was just amazing.
Thank
man.
you.
So, but why that one specifically?
I think it was like one of the most relatable for me, of like a path that I want to go down and learning more about myself just in that hour conversation. Yeah. But knowing Lexi's story and how she operates, like where I am now, she was 4 years ago. Yeah. Right. So for me, it was like, this is achievable. Like sometimes you get so caught up in like, I'm working towards these things. Is it ever going to pay off? And you see someone that's doing exactly what you want to do, and it's so refreshing. It's like, oh, this is it. And you, like I just said, you start to emulate that person. Okay. Yeah. What would Lexi do? Okay. Lexi built this huge community. Here's how she shows up on social media genuinely as herself. She works hard. She surrounds herself with amazing people. She's built a team. Like this is the way, right? Yeah. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just like do it your own way. So Lexi, like it was such a good conversation, like learned a lot. And like she was in Austin for the full weekend. So did 2 workouts with her and her team, and like people from all around the city, people traveling in for it. Like seeing her operate at such a high level as a trainer, as a coach, as a personality was like so cool to see. Yeah. And bring up Briley again, because he's in the First Form ecosystem. Yeah. I remember texting him after, because he was so stoked for this conversation. Yeah. And I was like, I am ready to take the step to be a First Form athlete. And we get on a call, and he was like, I've seen so much potential in you for like the past year or 2 that we've been working together. But he's like, there's always been like this roadblock. And he's like, I've always known you needed to see that it was possible. Yeah. And he's like, this is it for you. It's it for you to see someone else do it, to get that inspiration and be like, okay, now we're ready to go. Yeah. So that was it for me. Like I've now like changed the way like I see my journey on social media and coaching and wanting to be more involved in a brand like First Form is like, I know it's possible because someone else has done it, and like you look up to that person. It's not like someone just like cut corners or is like faking it. Like she is such a genuine person that's like, oh, this is the way to follow. Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of my favorite parts of that pod was her telling the story of,
of what it took to become a first form athlete, you know, that was like, okay, well, I'm not there yet. You know, it's like if it gets denied or like, hey, we're not here yet, then instead of playing the victim, which is so easy to do, right? It's so easy to fall back into that. And maybe it's just not meant for me, or maybe it's a goal too big for me, or you start beating yourself up of look at these other people, you start comparing, you start why them, not me, you start making excuses, all this stuff. But it was just with her, the mentality of, okay, I got more work to do.
Yeah.
It was immediate back into, I got more work to do. I got more work to do. Because she was always focused on working on bettering self and becoming worthy of that title and having that. But coming from the really, like her in the basement, right, training, I mean, you're going, that is the everyman story. Not coming from, not having the hand up, not having the easy way, going and hitting roadblocks and overcoming them. I mean, you look at that and go, man, that was... So, I mean, one, shout out Lexi for incredible pod and jumping in, and that weekend with you. I know you talked about being, it wasn't just the combo.
Yeah.
It was just the whole, the time, what you got to see, what you guys experienced with her and see it and lived out, and you're going, you have to see it. And I think that's a testament to also why you need, as we get near the end here of our time, why you need strong community.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many questions here still on, you know, man, so many good ones we're going to have to get to. What separates, what's the difference between good and great, and learning from previous coaches that help you coach today and these kind of things. But when I think about this thing, the big thing that I keep hearing over and over when you're not talking about this is you keep talking about mentors. You keep talking about community. You keep talking about accountability. You keep talking, that is, we used to say, we have a phrase when I was doing, you know, in my previous life ministry world was a lone ranger is a dead ranger, right? And that if you go at this alone, not saying that you can't, I think you've got the Goggins, right? The people that are, you know, I think he's uniquely wired, you know, and such a good motivator for culture, especially like, man, people that need to be motivated and pushed out of that. He could go at it alone. Like his first race where he's like just by himself. Everybody else got a team and he's like literally just showing up, running by himself, you know? But even he's talked about that, right? He talked about, I think one of his big, not regrets, but the thing that he looks back on was not learning how to cultivate a team, right? Where he talked about, you know, when he was in the military, instead of just competing all the time, but like figuring out how to bring all these other people with him and trying to figure out how to, man, surround yourself. But man, getting good mentors in your life, having been in this community where a mentor can call you and say in or out.
Yep.
Where you can get Alexi in here and go and, man, hear her story and go, man, that motivates me. And not having mentors that are so far like the Ed and Andy's that are like, man, they've built a life and they're, I mean, those guys are in their 50s now, right? Late 50s, right? You're not going, but Lexi's, you know, she's not that far removed from you.
Yeah.
So also having not just the people that are way out there going, that's a life that I want, but also people that are here going, man, that's actually attainable for me right now. And I'm not that far away from that. I just got to do X, Y, Z. And so what, you know, I think, what would you give to people? How do they find that, right? How do they, and maybe you can weave into of, you know, hey, how do you get that community? How do you find those mentors? And then, you know, I mean, if someone was, how would someone, you know, maybe at the end of that answer is, man, how would someone work with you, right? Of like, what would it look like to come in and get mindset coaching from you or, you know, training from you? So kind of walk us through that. How do you get community? How do you find mentors, right? And this is a big question that we're trying to answer in like a handful of minutes here, but I do want to hit this of, hey, and maybe I'll just hit you one at a time. How do you find the right community?
Yeah. Environment is everything.
Yeah.
Like my life changed with community when I moved to Austin because like back in Pennsylvania, like great people there, went to school in Philly, but like it was lacking that unique community that would push me to become better.
Yeah.
And make me go out of my comfort zone and like meet people and try new things. Like it just didn't exist there. Maybe it does, and I just didn't find it, but like Austin was so easy to do. And that's what I needed. I just needed like simple, like just say yes and things will start to fall into place. I think it's like number one, making the decision to put yourself out there. Like my first experience in Austin with it was I got invited to this, my buddy, his name's Matt. He invited me to like this private guys dinner that like we had this whole like Jeffersonian style conversation and like it was awesome.
That's cool.
But I had so much resistance saying yes to this. Because I was like, oh, it's far, it's late, I don't want to do it. I don't know anybody there. And I was just like, you know what? Let's do it. It changed my life. Because like I met some of my good friends there, like now good friends. But it was, I sat at that table looking around and being like, I am the dumbest and least successful here.
Yeah.
And it was such a good feeling.
Yeah.
Because I really never have felt that because I didn't put myself in those situations.
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to be around people like this that push me and like make me drive home that night thinking like, I need to work harder.
Yeah.
I need to do more. And like having people that make you feel that way, but also support you to get there too.
Yeah.
Ask you, where you're struggling? Where are you struggling? What can you be doing better? Like, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Changes everything.
Yeah. So that's community. How about mentorship? How does someone get a mentor?
I like the quote, when the student is ready, the master will appear.
Yeah.
Right. So what that means is like, you need to do work before you start to work with someone. As someone who is a coach and I've worked with coaches, like coaches don't want to handhold someone and be like, I'm going to take you from 0 to 50.
Yeah.
We're not going to take you all the way because it's a lifelong process.
Sure.
But to really like go from nothing to something takes a lot of work, and like you have to be open to change. So I literally spent years before I hired a first mentor reading, podcasting, listening to podcasts, like having these conversations with myself and others before I was like, I'm now open to bring on someone that can coach me.
Yeah.
If I did that 4 years ago, they would have hated me because I would have been like not taking action, not asking the right questions, not knowing the answers to things. Obviously, like I'm still growing, but I needed to be open to, I'm ready for change. So for someone looking for a mentor, like maybe it's not this year. That's okay. Like, I always talk about like hire mentors. Sure, yes, that's important, but you need to do the work first and you need to be open to change your life. You could hire a mentor like Ben Newman. He was transformative for me. If you're like, I want to work with a Ben, but you have no idea what you want to do in life and you have no ambition to actually start something, it's a waste of money.
Sure.
But if you spend time thinking like, okay, I want to get into performance coaching, I want to live at a higher standard. Maybe I don't have all the answers yet, but now I'm ready for Ben. He's going to put all the things in place for you and carry on well past your time with him. So I think it's doing that personal work and then finding the person that's actually right for you. Don't just sign up with someone because they have coach in their bio. It's like,
dude, that's not a good way to do it. Let me tell you, people. There's a lot of snake oil salesmen out there. Coaches, gurus that haven't actually done anything with their life. You know,
or just like the Instagram ad. Like, look into their story. What have they actually achieved? And like, would you actually want to work with this person? Would you want to go out to dinner with them? And if it's a no, there's way too many out there. So go find someone else.
Seriously. I think that's, dude, that's good. So we got community, we got mentorship and coaching, at least kind of a high level. Last question as we wrap up is, what if someone's listening to this and how do they get connected to Matt Loopy? If you're, and you offer a lot of different things. You've got, training, you can come in and get training. You do mindset coaching, performance training. How does someone get connected to you practically?
Biggest thing, social media. Like I spent a lot of time this past year posting more on Instagram and like showing who I am. Sharing my story, but also just trying to provide as much value as possible. So Matt_Loopy on Instagram. If you're not following, shoot me a message. Like I love just having discourse with people about like, here's where I am and here's where I want to go. Like, let me support you. Podcasts, like, don't just get stuff from me. Like I bring on awesome guests. So like, let's bring the whole ecosystem to you. And then beyond that, like starting to try to get more active on LinkedIn. I know it's such a powerful tool. So posting different resources. So following me on LinkedIn, connecting. But if someone's really open to like, I want to change my life, like let's have that conversation. DM me, shoot me a message. Ready to change some people's lives.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
There it is, people. Come on, 2025, kicking it off, first Q&A of the year.
Yes, sir.
I think we did all right.
Yeah, you said you had a quote.
Oh, dude, I got one quote. I know they're about to kick us out of this pod, but hold on, Ryan.
We got time.
Don't kick us out yet. So I was sitting there with Aaron and I were chatting. So Aaron's my co-founder, right? Guy that you did 90 Days of Actions with, and dude, this is also for listeners out there. I'm massively ADHD, so this is and for sure. I'm not taking my meds, so we're here trying to get to this thing. But it made me think about the need for intention, though. Right, of that the need for because here's what I want to warn people about: if you just set goals and you spend your whole life chasing, right? This is the warning of that type of life, right? Where there's just chasing, no enjoying, right? And it's this: it says we accept the present as something that is only temporary, and regard it only as a means to accomplish our aims. So your goals, your focus, whatever. A lot of people that are like, I'm only happy if I hit that. I'm only happy if I have the six pack. I'm only happy if I hit the 1 million, the 10 million, the 50 million. If I sell my company for, I'm a unicorn, right? And I sell for over $1 billion, whatever. But then he says this, thus, most people will find if they look back when their life is at an end, that they have lived their lifelong ad interim. And they will be surprised to find that something they allowed to pass by unnoticed and unenjoyed was just their life. That is to say, it was the very thing in the expectation of which they lived. And so it may be said of man in general that befooled by hope, he dances into the arms of death. And that's Arthur Schopenhauer. And I told myself this year, like, I don't want to dance in the arms of death.
Yeah.
I don't want to be befooled by hope, right? That I want to, the goals, all this is awesome, but all we have is the present.
Yep.
Like all I have right now is just you and me in this pod studio, and I'm just enjoying it. I'm enjoying the conversation going, man, I hope this blows up. I hope you blow up. I hope, you achieve everything you want to achieve in this life. But man, we're not promised tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like you and I get hit, in a car wreck, something, I think about these things but there's no promise.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to be, I want to aim big, shoot big, chase a big life, big goals. But man, it's so easy to miss it. Yeah. It's so easy to miss just that, like, man, I love my life.
Yeah.
And I love my family and my kids and these things that I have right now. And I'm like, don't be befooled by hope and dance in the arms of death, man. Like, enjoy the process and the journey, because that's really where life is lived anyway.
Yeah.
The peak moments, dude, like you saying at the peak of a mountain, that's momentary. It's really the journey up, and and then Everest, dude, most people die on the descent, right? So you look at that and go, man, enjoy the process up and down, no matter what you're chasing.
Yeah.
Because if you just chase, and then the people that hit the goals and then they do it all over again, and they're just, if I just do more, you're like, man, that's a recipe for disaster, and that's a recipe for a bad life. And so I think when you think about, this is called the Define Success podcast, and you're like, it can't just be, success can't just be hitting those goals and only having a longing for something that's constantly out there and the goalpost is constantly moving and I'm only going to be happy if. That's just not a life, man.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's self-love right there, and not like to sound woo-woo, but like, are you making yourself proud in those moments and like living in the present? Like, are your decisions something that you are like, I'm proud of myself for doing that?
Yeah.
Whether it's a hard decision, easy decision, but like, are you doing the right thing?
Yeah.
And most often, like, people aren't, because they're trying to please others, or they're afraid to do what's right.
Yeah.
But like, you owe it to yourself to actually
preach,
put yourself first, make yourself proud. Don't live for other people all the time. Like, if you live for yourself and make you the best version, other people will see that and you will serve them better. But I mean, there's a book called You Owe You. Like, it's such a good mantra of like, actually put yourself first for once, make yourself proud, and like, you will live a better life.
Come on, man, let's go. We ended with a little sermon up in here, man. You're like a little Q&A, a little sermon. Hope y'all enjoyed that. Yep. But yeah, no, I think that's it. Man, you owe you. Yep. Enjoy it. Enjoy the process. Yeah, aim big, chase, know your why, focus on goals, get good community, find good mentors and all that. But like, man, truly love yourself, love the journey of it. You're like, man, how many people look in there, especially with fitness, how many people looking at their bodies just hating it? Man, I think about that all the time going, man, if you hate the body right now as it is, this body that's carried you this far in your life and has endured all the challenges you faced and trials and all those things, and if you hate it, man, even when you look good, you got the six pack, you're shredded, all the stuff, man, what you'll find is you probably still hate it.
Yeah.
Because you were just, that was the mentality you had versus, man, I love this body. I love what it does. I'd like to see what it could do, whether it's Iron Man or if I could get a six pack, if I could do these things. You're like, well, you can go do it, but enjoy the process. Enjoy what it took to get there and who you became and the person you had to become to achieve that goal. Yep. That's the better actual measure of, and the purpose behind goal setting, I think. 100%. And so, man, let's do it like that. Now we can hold each other accountable to actually being that way, because most of the time I'm just pissed off at where I'm
Oh, I know.
Dude, shut up, dude. Y'all don't listen to that, all right? Don't listen to this, man.
No, man, I appreciate you. This is awesome.
You too, man. I enjoyed it. Let's hit it up. Later.